Hey everybody, how's it going? Real Diversity here. We are back with a video. We're gonna do a review slash breakdown of episode 8 of season 3 of Invincible. Um, First off, disclaimer: if you have never watched any of my videos or reviews, I pretty much make them like podcasts, so you don't really have to watch anything going on the screen. You just listen to it. Just first and foremost, you do whatever you want to do while you're listening, but you can just listen and treat it like a podcast. But and by the way, if you guys, this is my first Invincible video. I've made tons of video reviews, breakdowns, stuff like that. But this is my first one, Invincible. I really enjoyed this episode, so I really just want to talk about it and get some thoughts out. If you guys do enjoy this, and please support the video, thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and let me know. And I will go ahead and go back and redo some more, and or just be ready for season 4 and just start on episode 1. So. But let me know. I'll go back and do some other ones if you guys want. But if I get enough support, I'll definitely keep it up. So let's get into it. And I guess I'll just start kind of from the beginning. I'm not really didn't really bullets in this or plan this or anything like that. But I pretty much know what I want to talk about. But I'll just start from the beginning and just talk about some things that I liked, didn't like, enjoyed. But I really loved. I'll start with Conquest. I really love Conquest's voice in this episode. A lot of people were complaining. I think just from the first little seconds of speaking he did in the episode 7, people were like they just did not like his voice. But everyone later on said it grew on him or whatever. But you know, in hindsight, I didn't really either way. I didn't care too much. I guess most people were expecting a voice like Thanos or something like that, something gritty and dark and deep or so, I'm assuming. But I think his voice was great. It definitely, he definitely was able to convince us of a lot of the emotions there. So I think it definitely was a great pick ultimately. I guess just people just probably just didn't like the tone, but he definitely did a great job voice acting for Conquest, and just all around amazing job there. And obviously, I'm not picky about voice acting, but you know they've just done a decently good job of just picking voice actors. I mean, it's not like they've ever mispicked, in my opinion, on this show. But yeah, so I guess we start into the fight because I think that's just what happened immediately was they jumped into the fight. Animations was great. I think one thing people always say about this show is animation quality sometimes up, down, bad, good. I think everyone was saying it was this season or episode had really, really great animation. In my opinion, I'm the type of person, like, if the only time I really notice the animation, if it's really bad, like really bad, or if it's really good. Like, I'll say Demon Slayer, if you guys are into anime or anything, Demon Slayer has really great animations and it's noticeable. But outside of that, like, if it's just average, it's fine to me. It doesn't like stick out. I don't look too hard. I'm not an animator. I don't notice certain things. So I wouldn't know good or bad. I just know like it's okay to me. Like, nothing just looks bad, right? And then, but when it's like terrible and like the way they move, the motion, a lot of times I'll say even just like 3D animations that kind of stands out to me and doesn't look always. If it's done bad, it stands out to me and doesn't look as good. But normal 2D looks great. This episode, great, phenomenal, loved it. The animation, I think everyone else did agree, but just to me in general, it didn't matter too much because, like I said, most episodes of Invincible look okay to me. I've never seen an episode I'm like, man, this looks terrible. They all look pretty fine to me. So I'm biased on that. So going into the fight again, keep in mind here, and I'll try to keep this spoiler free, but I will, if I do throw a spoiler out there, I will let you guys know. And with that being said, I have read the comics. Not much. I've seen like the main things, some of the bigger fights, and I have been spoiled on a lot of other things. So I have a good knowledge of the comics and used to read them way before the show. And it just stuck out to me because the comic was brutal, and I had never seen no comic like that before. And I will say, with that being said, some of the scenes, the animators, they extend the fights and do extra things like that, which is great. I love it. I love the extra little oomphs they give these fights and feelings and things like that. But a lot of these fights are way quicker in the comics and way brutal and look way bloodier. But so obviously, I I don't know what the limitation of how much they can make it look realistic or whatever, but either way, they still do a good job in their own way. It's just a little bit different from the comic, but still, in its own aspect, it still just does a really good job of telling a story in its own way, right? So with that being said, this fight pretty much was way longer than I guess you could say in the comics, but either way, I'm not complaining at all. So we get to see Conquest, and again, note this, which I don't know if it was ever really said or not. I don't think it's really a spoiler, but I will say Conquest is really like a top fighter, or if like in terms of strength, like he's one of the stronger ones in the Viltrumite Empire. Like, you know, comparable to like Nolan. If you guys know how Nolan, Omni-Man kind of pretty much like no diffs most average Viltrumites. Conquest is pretty much on that level too, and with just no diff a lot of the average ones. So again, with that being said, Mark pretty much had, you know, a really good showing in this episode to me, just from just front to end. Normally he just kind of takes a beating, and especially when you think, just like think about the Anessa fight. Anessa, when he fought Anessa, and you know, they was like doing numbers and stuff, so he was like an 18%, 8 or 18% chance of winning. Somebody, they came out exact number, but it was like he had low chance of winning. And she just dog walked him. I don't even know if he got a punch in or not in that fight, which was interesting to me, considering that when he was on that planet with his dad, he was able to beat up another. It looked like an older Viltrumite, which usually the older they are, the stronger they are, which was kind of more interesting. Was interesting to me. But again, the power scaling is just kind of wonky on here. It's kind of just like take my word for it type of deal. But we do know the top hitters, and everyone else is just like, it's just luck and chance for the most part. But yeah, with that alone, again, like we said, Mark like I don't even think was able to throw a punch at Anessa. Just kind of took a beating, I think, against her. I don't even think he got a real hit or not. And you know, just kind of took her out real easy. And so in this fight, he really, you know, held his own, which stays a lot of how much he's grown. They don't often show, or you can't really visibly see a lot how much stronger he is. But yeah, this definitely shows that he's a lot stronger. And I will say that I think after this is probably the last time you will pretty much see him just kind of get beat on. If obviously until he fights someone super strong, until we get a lot further in the story. But I think yeah, like a lot of people don't dislike how, I wouldn't say weak he is, but how often he gets beat. I think a lot of that changes or will change next season. Again, I don't know too much of it coming. I know the main things. I've read most of it, but not all of it. So I forget, so long ago I forget. Like this fight, I kind of completely forgot how it went. I know a few things, but I did go back and look at it, and it's totally different from the comic. But yeah, I knew pretty much the gist of how I was going to go for the main part, especially like the ending and how Mark finished him and things like that. But yeah, it's a little bit different. And with that being said, I mean that's what I love about the animation, because they do a better. They just flesh it out more and just do a good job of really exploring the fights. So yeah, what I left off at Conquest. But going back again, Conquest top fighter, and this just gives Mark a lot of experience, I think, here. And obviously every time it's almost like Sans, I believe, in their story. So every time they kind of come close to death, they get a lot stronger. So anyways, Mark's going to be a lot stronger after the next season going forward. So, but either way, regardless, I think it was a great showing for Mark, especially if you know how strong Conquest really is. Okay, so I want to jump ship and hop on Oliver real quick. Oliver always ride or die for Mark, at least for now. Not that that changes too much, but Oliver pulls up almost anytime Mark's in trouble, and you gotta love it. He's definitely been a season favorite for, I think, me and a lot of other people, I'd imagine. But yeah, one thing that almost worries me when I see Oliver every time is when I see his skin, his purple skin. It almost makes me think like, is he less durable than like Mark or the normal Ventrumites? And I'm always just kind of curious on that. I'm not sure on that. I don't know. If anyone knows, please give a spoiler alert, a disclaimer, and let us know. Is he less durable or not? It doesn't seem like that to me, but I always just think of how the Thraxans are like bugs, and they're kind of easier to squish, I would imagine. But obviously that's kind of how the humans are too. It seems either way, they're just kind of tear real easy anytime they're in the midst of a fight. But yeah, so going. I think yeah, Oliver Conquest, Mark. I think yeah, again, um, everything just really well animated, and I want to jump into I guess kind of near the end of the fight, which Eve waking up. We get to see Eve. I think this was again. I don't not again, but I because it's my first video, but I'm not a big fan of how they do Eve. She they just she's one of those characters that's like broken, but they did give me a little insight this episode and telling me that she has limiters. So she has limiters on her power, which makes things a little different. So she does have these limiters, and without that, I would imagine she could just no diff anybody. In my opinion, could pretty much just change someone to a puddle of water or something like that. I would imagine. So, but yeah, with that being said, great showing by Eve. Loved it. Loved the fight. And again, this that didn't happen in the comics, so it was added on. Really great. Love when animators, like I said earlier, flesh out the scenes and battles and things like that. And I didn't really see her. I know she had like a little Eve special. I've seen some clips of it and her battling, and she had a lot of creativity in those. In that episode, and it was good to see her use her powers in different ways. And I wish they would really do a lot more with her. She's always used just doing walls or something like that. But I'm glad they was able to show that she has like a bigger bag if she really wanted to, but it could take up a lot of energy, so maybe that's why. And another thing to note, at the end of the episode, well, actually, I'll get to that in a second. Two more things I wanted to point out. Oliver, and then we'll jump past the fight. Oliver, again, like I said, everyone's favorite at the moment. But Oliver, I think this fight may have taught him a real lesson about being cautious. Maybe now this may be I think his first really strong opponent, and really may have knocked some sense into him, literally and figuratively, and to maybe being more cautious and listening to Mark. Just want to throw that out there. Some potential we may see later. And also when it comes to Conquest, to be fair, I think he was holding back most of the fight. I think if he wanted to really end the fight early, he probably could have. And again, Mark did have a little bit of help. I wouldn't say enough, because most of it was Mark on his own, really. Breaking his arm, and then pretty much, keeping him at, pretty much almost won the fight on his own, except for just maybe the most help was when Eve kind of blasted Conquest's skin off. I don't know how much that nerfed him or anything like that in that moment. It didn't seem like it phased him too much. But yeah, that may have been enough to get him the dub there. I'm not sure. Either way, Mark did pull out the win. So I was glad to, obviously glad to see that. And just to jump past the fight, I think, like I said, talked about everything already. Animation was great, voice acting was great. The fights really great, fleshed out, loved it. And I want to skip to the Rex funeral, not skip to, but I think it was the next thing that happened anyway. I think it was okay, not really that big of important. I don't think it was that well done. I didn't really feel the emotions there, but again, I don't know if that was intentional or not. If that was how it went in the comics or not. Not that familiar with that part of the story. But again, wasn't that fleshed out in my opinion. But I'm not gonna complain about it. The main thing, we was all there pretty much, was the fight. But yeah, they did have the Rex scene, and then again, Robot. This was kind of foreshadowed earlier. But Robot changed his name to Rex, and if you remember in the episode, they rescued Mark from that dimension that he got stuck in. She called Robot Rex, so it's kind of foreshadowing from that. And anything else past that? I think that was it. Now we're just gonna jump into the end things. So they they wrapped up with a bunch of other stuff, and so at the end they showed us a few things to note. One thing was Eve. Eve kind of took Mark's clothes off, and it was kind of glowing, and it's like puddle at the end. That could be foreshadowing or something. I'm not familiar with that in the comic. It would be a surprise to me as well. It could be some way of maybe limiting her abilities later, or just some side effect of her recent limiter break, or just anything like that. We gotta wait to find out, but it could be irrelevant, or it could just be for fun and show. It may not actually mean nothing, but again, it could mean something. But we have to wait till next season to really find out. We didn't get to see Alan and Nolan, but we will probably see them really, really soon at the beginning of the next season. And as far as the other ending, Battle Beast, we got to see Battle Beast again. Battle Beast showed up, and the aliens that picked them up may potentially be Coalition guys. We don't know yet, but they could be with the Coalition. Just not certain yet. So Battle Beast is back and survived. I wish we could have seen the fight though. He had that Viltrum I ripped to shreds when they found them, and then at the very end we got to see the demon guy again. I'm not familiar with his name, but he was the detective in season 1 that was pretty much on Nolan's trail the entire time after he off the Guardians of the Globe, and so this time he mentioned to, I guess, his boss or whoever he answers to. He mentioned there was a strong, dark, powerful potential ally. And I think with that being said, we don't know who that possibly is. He didn't give any hints or anything like that. He could still be talking about Nolan, or he could be talking about Mark. We heard at the end Mark was like he's done. He's gonna not hesitate to kill. He could be talking about Mark. Could even be talking about Eve. Could be talking about anybody. We don't know yet. Who knows who he's talking about? But he mentioned that, and that may hopefully they bring that up. And that scene isn't part of the comic, so whatever happens there, that's all the show writers. So that can be really interesting if they do something really cool with that. So we gotta wait to see. But I think that's pretty much it. I think we covered it all. And if you guys did enjoy this, hey man, like I said earlier, support the channel. Thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be back with some more. If you guys do support this video, man, I love to go back and do some of the older episodes and talk about them and things. And if I do, I may even talk about it'll be like a post-season finish. So I'll even reference the future.